2024 is already shaping up to be a fantastic year for anyone who wants to use AI to create their own independent film endeavors outside of the elitist Hollywood system. From Nano Banana 2 to GPT Image 2, and now with the release of Seedream 5.0 Pro, AI creators, AI filmmakers have some significant firepower at their fingertips, with 6 more months to go in this year. And so what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be taking a look at the new release of Seedream 5.0 Pro. The previous iteration of this version was Seedream 5.0 Lite, but it really didn't get a lot of widespread attention, with most of the initial testing mostly pointing out that it still lagged behind Nano Banana 2 and even Nano Banana Pro. But from the little bit of testing that I've done with this model, it looks like they're trying to rectify that. They're trying to catch up with Nano Banana 2 by adding some cool features like being able to have the model essentially go out and research things the same way that Nano Banana 2 can with live web search. But there are some things that this model is still lacking, and we'll get into that in this video. But one of the things that I'm excited about with having another entrant in this space, which is what I mentioned in my previous video, it's good to have more competition in this space, because if for some reason Google decides to change the way they let people access this model, for instance, maybe it becomes more censored. If we only had something like Nano Banana 2, or if we only had something like GPT Image 2, which is already heavily censored, then you're pretty much screwed when it comes to being able to freely express yourself as an artistic creator. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the testing that I've done with Seedream 5.0 Pro, and apologies in advance if I end up saying something like Seedance, because it does get confusing jumping back and forth between Seedance and Seedream. And I'm telling you now because I don't want to have to keep making lots of edits in the video just to correct that mistake. I'm also going to be using a tool called Flora AI, because this tool allows me to see all of the models at the same time to easily compare how they perform when placed head to head from a bird's eye view. And if you want to be able to perform some of the same tests that I'm going to be performing in this video and essentially follow along with everything that I'm doing, then be sure to check the partner link below this video for the link to Flora AI. What's cool about them when you use our partner link is not only will you get free credits to try everything out, after you use all of your credits, if you decide to subscribe, you will receive 25% off every month for 12 months of your subscription if you use our partner link. You cannot find this deal anywhere else. More information in the link pinned below this video. And one last thing before I forget, even though I said the comparison is going to be between Nano Banana 2, ChatGPT Image 2, and Seedream 5.0 Pro, if I run into any situations to where the image fails with GPT Image 2 because the model is just so heavily censored, I may give it one more roll, and if it continues to act stupid, I'm just going to keep it moving. And the reason is because I don't encounter lots of censorship issues using Nano Banana 2 or Nano Banana Pro, and I've not run into anything like that just yet with Seedream 5.0 Pro. So if Sam Altman and gang can't get their shit together, that's not my fault, and we're not going to spend a bunch of time on faulty shit. Let's get right into the video. Okay guys, so as I just said, Seedream 5.0 Pro just dropped. And one of the things I'm not going to do is what a lot of creators do, which is to go to the website and read all of the specs and look at all of the examples that ByteDance put together themselves. This is pretty good. I'm not discouraging you guys from coming to the website and checking this out. But what I'm going to do is tell you to go ahead and check this out yourself, because I've got my own set of benchmarks after doing this for a little while, because oftentimes these model creators, they will of course cherry pick things to make their stuff look better than what it may actually be purported to be. And my testing focuses more on taking what they say the model does and then running it through my own tests to see if it does what they say it does. It's pretty straightforward. And if I remember, I'll drop the link to their website below the video, because it's not a straightforward link, but honestly, they're not paying me to push traffic to their website. So forgive forgive me if I forget. But if someone wants to remind me if for some reason I forgot, then just be sure to comment below the video. Again, they've got a lot of things that they say that their model does. I'm not saying we're going to look at these examples in particular. We may do something very similar, but our use case is more for AI cinematic filmmaking. And so that's what I want to focus my testing on, what the various use cases would be for anyone wanting to create AI cinematic scenes using this model. So before we get too far in the video, I want to call out some of the things that's going to be specific to what we're going to be doing in this video. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to be using Flora AI. Flora has access to Seedream 5.0 Pro, Nano Banana 2, and GPT Image 2 via the API. But some of the things that you have access to via Flora may not be available compared to if you were to use something like GPT Image 2 within OpenAI's ChatGPT. And so I had Claude do some research, and I used Fable 5 to come up with this image right here that just kind of lines everything out side by side as a comparison so that you know what you're getting. For instance, if the Seedream 5.0 Pro documentation says that it has the capability to do, say, 14 or 16 image inputs, the cap on that in Flora AI itself is 10, which apparently is the case for something like GPT Image 2. Apparently within ChatGPT, maybe there's the option to use 16 images or 16 references, but within Flora AI, it's capped at 10. The only outlier is Nano Banana 2 that allows 14 inputs within Flora AI. And let's just take a look at the rest of this because I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about in just a second. As another example, I believe the documentation for Seedream 5.0 Pro is saying that it's a max of 2K resolution, but within Flora AI, you have the option to select 4K. Based on Claude's research, it could not find anything that can verify or tie back to whether or not that 4K is native or that's something else taking place. So again, let me just explain what it's saying. It's telling me that based on its research, max resolution output is 2K, but Flora is giving you the option to do 4K, but I don't know if that's coming from the API or not. I hope that makes sense. And here's the thing, I've gone to their website, I don't see anything that talks about 4K. So if it does 4K, they're making that information very hard to come by. Again, you can go check their website yourself. I don't see anything saying that they offer 4K output, and I'm not going to go bouncing around on Twitter trying to see if I could find anything there. You shouldn't have to do that much work to find out what the hell their model does. So again, that's why I say when I had Claude / Fable 5 do the research, they didn't come up with anything that says that it offers native 4K. But again, honestly, if I go to their website, I don't even see anything that references 2K. Maybe you have to go back to Seedream 5.0 Lite. Maybe there's more information there, which, okay, I guess I'll take a look right quick. But again, I don't see anything that's telling me. The video doesn't give any hint about it either. So again, just know I made a serious effort to try to figure out what the actual resolution parameters are and really couldn't find anything. The other thing I want to point out is that, as you can see right here, web search grounding is inherited from Seedream 5.0 Lite, but in Flora AI, there's no toggle switch, which I wasn't even aware of, to be able to turn this on like you can with Nano Banana 2. And again, I'll show you in just a minute. But again, if we go back to Seedream 5.0 Lite, which came out before Pro, if we scroll down here, you see that it says accompanies with online search capability, real-time news, and topics can be visualized in an instant. Now, whether this is flowing through natively via the API and there's nothing for you to turn on or turn off, I don't know that. And again, this capability is being brought over to Seedream 5.0. But as we take a look in Flora, again, I'm going to show you this right here. You see that there's nothing to be able to turn on any web browsing like you can with Nano Banana 2, where it says web search disabled. You can enable it. Again, I wasn't even paying attention to this in the past. I assumed that everything that was happening via API was already doing web searches. I didn't know that there was something that you had to turn on. And the same thing with GPT Image 2. There's no switch to flip on to enable web search, but apparently web search is possible. Of course, if you're using GPT Image 2 within ChatGPT, you would assume that that's the case. And in terms of everything else that I showed you in that slide recently, again, we see here with Seedream 5 Pro, Pro, there's a 2K option and a 4K option. I just don't know if that 4K is coming from the API or if it's something else. And you can see the various pricing across all of the models. We've got about, I guess we could say 9 cents per image with Seedream 5 Pro. For a 2K generation with Nano Banana 2, it's about 13 cents per. Does it change when you disable web search? It sure does. So it looks like it's 11 cents if you disable web search at 2K. And with GPT Image 2, it's going to cost you 52 cents per at 2K. And again, if you change these parameters, then you'll see what the pricing changes to. For these tests, we're just going to leave everything at 2K, and I'm also going to leave web search disabled because I don't know that web search is enabled for Seedream 5 Pro or GPT Image 2, and I want to keep everything consistent when it comes to testing the parameters. In terms of what we're going to be comparing, I'm planning to run through all 5 of these scenarios in this video. If it gets too long, then maybe I'll just do 3. And again, since this channel is focused on AI cinematic filmmaking, those are kind of the things that I pulled out of this update that I want to test for, because there were a few things that came out in terms of updates for Seedream 5 Pro. But again, our focus is going to be use cases more specific to what you and I are doing. And I believe we're going to nail that with all of this testing. We're going to be looking at image lock and multi-angles, basically using a reference image to create a consistent character and seeing how Seedream 5 Pro stacks up against the other models. Because as you've seen in previous videos, when I go through this process, Nano Banana 2 has been my base model for this. We're going to be looking at a multi-reference example since these models do take multiple inputs, and we'll do something like taking a character input, a wardrobe input, a prop, and an environment, fusing it all together and seeing which model holds it all together the best. We'll be looking at a cinematic scene for a 2-character shot. I'm also interested in the expression range on one consistent character: happy face, sad face, angry face, depressed. How does Seedream 5.0 Pro hold up against the others? And then we're going to look at some cinematic prompting examples, because one of the things that I've noticed is all of these models give their own look and own interpretation of what they consider to be cinematic. And outside of Midjourney, oftentimes things like Nano Banana, GPT Image 2, and other models, they give this sort of cartoonish look. And if you get lucky every now and then, you'll get something that looks very cinematic, something that looks like it could come from a movie still. But one of the things that I've noticed in the past, especially with Seedream 4.5, is that it was very good at cinematic scenes. I want to see if that carries forward in Seedream 5 Pro and how it stacks up against Nano Banana 2 and GPT Image 2, which again has its own aesthetic and may or may not turn out how you intended. So I hope all of that makes sense. Let's continue on. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is image lock and multi-angle. And basically what that means is you have a reference image like I have here. And basically what we want to do is to get as many angles as we possibly can with this character so that we can take that data and share it with something like ByteDance 2.0 when we go to create our cinematic scenes, so that the AI understands what the character looks like from all angles. It's literally giving the data to the AI and saying, hey, treat this as a 360-degree understanding of this particular character. And again, I'm using this workflow that I created in Flora AI. And as I've mentioned previously, if you want to use this workflow completely for free, then be sure to look below the video in the description. You'll find the link to it. That is our partner link. And again, if you decide to subscribe to Flora after you use all of your free credits, you will receive 25% off of your subscription for 12 months using our partner link only, because we're the only one with that deal. Well, not me in particular, but anyone who's a creative partner with Flora has that deal. And basically what I'm saying is, if you went to Flora AI and signed up without using our partner link, you'd pay the regular price as opposed to getting a 25% discount on your first 12 months. Anyway, so this is my consistent character. I think I gave her a name. Let me see, under my elements. Yeah, I just called her Jean. And what we want to look for is how well the AI is following the prompt. This right here is supposed to be a waist up shot. And before we roll roll through it, what I want to say is this. I've already done this with Nano Banana 2 because that was the basis for all of this. And then I also did this with Seedream 5.0, but I have not done it with GPT Image 2 yet. And what I wanted to show you is this cool trick. Again, all you have to do is swap out any of these with any image generator that can do this, and then you can see a history of how they all performed. But what we want to not do is have to do this one by one. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to flip all of this to GPT Image 2. So I'm going to select this first one, and then I'm just going to hold the Command key on a Mac, which I believe is the Control key on Windows, and I'm just going to go through every single one of these. And as you can see right here, this thing pops up that says select model, and I'm going to click GPT Image 2. For the quality, I'm just going to say medium because I don't want it to take too long. The resolution, we're going to say 2K, although I didn't realize that you can have both of these. So let's just do high in 2K. And then the only thing I'm going to do is hit this run button, and it's going to run all of these 11 generations. But again, fair warning, GPT Image 2 does a lot of censoring, so I don't know how this is going to turn out, but let's just find out right now. And again, it's going to run everything off of this reference image right here. It's already got the prompts. And once this completes, we'll have a Nano Banana 2 version, a Seedream 5 Pro version, and then GPT Image 2 if they actually complete. And while we're waiting for these to generate, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, because not only does it let YouTube know that you enjoy video tutorials like this, but it also alerts them to the next video that we upload to the channel. You're not going to want to miss out. Now, I'm actually surprised that worked, although there was one that failed, as you can see down here, and I think it failed for something very silly. As you can see, this was a prompt about hands. So this one getting flagged by OpenAI's API makes absolutely no sense. Now, we're not going to look at every single one of these examples, but I am going to pull some of them out just so that we can see a side-by-side comparison. And all you'd have to do for something like that is just drag them over like this, and I'm going to do this. I'll put Seedream in the middle just because I had already done that with Nano Banana Nano Banana 2. And again, this is what I like about Flora AI, because rather than relying on trust me bro benchmarks, you can actually see what's happening with each of these models with no BS filters. And as we can see right here, this was a prompt for a waist up shot, and interestingly, Seedream 4.5 seems to have gotten it the most correct, because again, this is waist up. This right here is from her knees up with Nano Banana 2, even though I like the shot. And with GPT Image 2, I would not call this waist up. I mean, we can see her waist, but it's not exactly the same. And what I've just noticed that GPT Image 2 did was it added these nose rings, and Seedream 5 Pro and Nano Banana 2 did not. So I don't know why GPT Image 2 went out of their way to add stuff to my image that I did not expect. So that's something you'd have to be on the lookout for if you were going to do anything with that model. And again, if we look at the actual reference image itself, these are pretty much spitting clones of this reference image. So I mean, I'm gonna hit F, and you'll see this is what she looks like originally. And again, this is Nano Banana 2, Seedream 5 Pro, and GPT Image 2, which added the face hardware. Now, I would say that these all came out nice, but the one thing that I would advise not doing is mixing models, because there is some variation in these images. I would say the GPT Image 2 version has the most variation, and I would somewhat say that you could get away with using both Nano Banana 2 and Seedream 5 with the same model and not seeing much of a variation. But again, if you wanted to create a grid of consistent characters like I did here in the past, and this was all Nano Banana 2, I would not mix models, just to ensure that you're keeping everything consistent, because again, as we see, each model interprets your reference image a slight bit differently. Now let's take a look at an example that is usually more challenging for AI, and these are dramatic shots. Like this one right here is a low angle shot and full body, and actually I ran this one a couple of times because before Seedream 5 came out, I was only doing this with Nano Banana 2, and as you can see, that is not how my reference character looks in terms of the clothing. And then I ran it again and it fixed it, so now it looks like it should. And the thing is, this is sort of a low angle shot, but as we can see, Seedream 5 Pro does much more of a dramatic low angle shot. So I guess it's just what flavor you want to have of this type of shot. I mean, if we're being completely honest here, I think Seedream 5 Pro does a better job of this. And again, if you're using Flora AI, the way you can tell what's what is over here. You can see where it says model. You can see that this is Seedream 5 Pro, and that's what was going on here, because since I ran this twice with Nano Banana 2, I then ran it twice with Seedream 5 Pro. And then here's the version with GPT Image 2. And honestly, it's kind of like how Nano Banana 2 did their interpretation. They are still what you would call low angle shots. But if I had to make a choice out of these three models in terms of which version gave me a better interpretation of the prompt, then I would go with Seedream 5 Pro. What are your thoughts? And then one more, because I want to point out two things. So this is another dramatic shot. This is a shot from above, full body. And again, this is GPT Image 2 that we're looking at. This is Nano Banana 2, which I think it kind of changes her face a bit, maybe not too much. And this one is Seedream 5 Pro, which again, I like the most because it gives a truer interpretation of the actual prompt, which again was meant to be a high angle full body photo. And what I wanted to mention is that if you remember in the past, one of the things that was a big issue in the past with these image editing models is that they would not hold the shape of your AI character. And again, if we look at the actual shape of my consistent character that everything was done off of, this one right here, this is how she starts off. And now AI is doing a very good job of remaining faithful to that look. And that didn't used to be the case. So again, some models have their own interpretation, but I think Seedream 5 Pro, again, that's GPT Image 2 right here, which is kind of the weakest out of these three. And I would say I like Seedream 5 Pro better in this regard. Again, you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments below this video. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is multi-reference identity fusion. What we're doing is we're taking the character plus a wardrobe plus the prop plus an environment fused into one shot to determine which model honors all four. And I am going to speed through this a bit because there was some upfront work that I had to do. For instance, I had to come up with the wardrobe and the prop, and I worked with Claude to come up with this cloak right here that I created in Midjourney, as you can see right here. And the same thing happened with the dagger. I decided on this one right here, and that's what I'm using as the reference right here in Flora for this character. Now, I've already run this with Nano Banana 2, and that's only because I already had these images out here for Nano Banana 2 pulled out. And the reason that I'm going to show you the process with Seedream 5 is because there's going to be a few things that are different. For one, as you guys know, Flora has an elements feature to where you can create an element and use all of your reference images and then do everything off of the element. And what you do is you just say add to canvas and it'll show up right there. The problem is if you were to try to do something with Seedream 5, you'll see that it says this model does not support elements. So there's a workaround that we have to do. And I've already alluded to that with what you're seeing over on the left-hand side with Nano Banana 2. But one of the cool things about this workflow that I gave you is that once you decide on which images you want to use from your batches, all you'd have to do is click on Tools and Upscale, and your image will get upscaled, as you can see right here. Topaz is the default upscaler. If you wanted to use a different upscaler like Magnific, then you'd have to actually come to the image, do something like this, say image, and you'd have to make sure you keep the aspect ratio the same, and you'd have to find Magnific. But Topaz works just fine, and so that's what I just go ahead and run with. And I will go ahead and just show you the upscale on this image, but the only reason I'm not going to use this image is because, as you can see, her hat is incorrect. This is Seedream 5 Pro, and it gets the hat incorrect. It's too short. If you look on the other images, that's how it's supposed to look. But just to show you what happens when you click upscale on something that you've already got, then it just shows up right here, and it just makes it a lot easier to keep track of what you were upscaling, because I'm going to take 8 of these images and do the same thing I did with Nano Banana 2. But again, I'm not going to use this one because the image itself is incorrect. So let's do this. We're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm just going to delete these connections by doing this, just highlighting them. And you can always scroll in a bit more to get it a bit more accurate. You can leave those together. I don't. I just like things to be a lot cleaner. And then the other thing you can do is you can highlight all of these images and click auto format, and it'll do something like that. But one of the other things I like doing as well is creating a little field, because if you were just to look at this, you'd have no idea where these images came from, because that information has been stripped out. Again, like if I just click on an image, now it's just saying Topaz Upscaler. It doesn't say that this was Seedream 5 Pro, but we know that it was Seedream 5 Pro because we selected those images. And just to show you, how you can keep track of that yourself, again, remember that's Seedream 5 Pro, and if it wasn't, it would show something else, like we're seeing here with GPT Image 2. But anyway, I'm going to highlight all of these, and then I'm going to say field. I'm going to double click in here, and I'm going to say Seedream 5 Pro. And now we know that this is the image set that came from Seedream 5 Pro that has already been upscaled. You can color code them if you want. It's not necessary. And what we'd want to do after that is take this and this and this and come up with this. So let me just go ahead and walk through that, because again, it's not as straightforward. Since we cannot use the elements, we have a cool workaround. And for that, I'm just going to duplicate this, and I'm going to duplicate this just so that it's easier to follow along with what I'm about to execute. So if we go back to this graphic, we see that the node cap in terms of inputs for reference images with Seedream 5 Pro is 10, 14 with Nano Banana 2. And again, since GPT Image 2 has the same cap, we can only get 10 reference images from running that operation. If we come back to Flora, we have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inputs, so we're good to go. But again, remember, we do need an environment, and this is the other workaround that we're going to do. But first, let me show you what I was talking about at the beginning. We're going to highlight all of this right here, and when you do that, notice what happens. You get this little node right here, or node starter, and then when you pull this out and select image, you see that everything came over. So let me just go ahead and flip this to Seedream 5 Pro 16 by 9, because that's what we're going to want for our cinematic scene. And as you can see, all of the references are showing up here. Now, before I forget, I want 3 examples of this, and I'm going to grab the same prompt that I used for Nano Banana 2. I'm going to say copy prompt, and I'm going to drop this here. Now, let me tell you what's going on with the prompt itself. So the prompt says combine the 3 reference images, and again, if we think about it, this is 1, 2, 3, even though technically it's 8 of this bunch, but maybe that could be an issue, because I had 3 because I assumed that I was going to be able to use an element, and I did that with Nano Banana 2. So I'm just going to say 10 for this one, and then I'm going to give Nano Banana 2 another 3 spins, because honestly those didn't come out that great, and I'll show you what they look like initially. But if I'm going to say 10 reference images with this one, then we got to keep it consistent. And what else is going on is it's saying you want to take the woman from the character reference. We want her wearing the black velvet hooded cloak, which is this right here, holding the dagger from the prop reference in her right hand, again, which is this one right here. We say from the wardrobe reference, take only the cloak garment itself. Do not carry over the mannequin or its face. Again, that's very important. We say the cloak is worn over her existing outfit with the hood pulled over her head. Remove her witch hat entirely. So again, I put a lot of thought into this prompt, because I'm like, if I give her this cloak, and if I don't tell the AI to remove the hat, then they're going to try to throw the hood over her hat, and it's just going to look stupid. So again, I gave some thought to this, and I'm not going to read every single thing, but what we had is one more element missing, and that's the environment. And so I went ahead and tucked the cinematic scene within this prompt, and initially it was going to be this right here, because this is the exact prompt itself. Actually, let me go up. Yeah, these are the prompts. And the problem that I've said with AI in the past is sometimes when you take a scene like this and then you take your character and then you try to blend it into the same scene, the scale gets thrown off. I explained this phenomena previously in another video, but again, if you see like some of these scenes with this particular character, it just looks kind of weird, right? And what I found is it's a lot better to just have your reference image, get an idea of what the scene should look like. And again, Midjourney gives a much better scene, I mean, just hands down. And I'm pretty sure that over time it's going to work a lot better doing this. But again, what I found is it's better to just put the scene that you want in the prompt itself, and then let the AI come up with what the scene should look like. So I hope that makes sense, because let me just show you what was going on with Nano Banana 2, because we said we're going to run this one again to say 10 reference images. But again, as you can see, this did not go well with Nano Banana 2 because it really just changes her wardrobe entirely. The last shot, or actually the first shot, is a lot closer to what I expected. But again, this is what I'm talking about, where the AI comes up with the scene and the character blends much more naturally when you do that. Obviously, you've got to take into account continuity, but again, I found this to be a better way of working this. And so rather than make this confusing, let me just do this. I'm just going to duplicate this, and I'm going to delete these variants. We've already got them. I'm going to make sure the prompt says 10. And I'm just going to run this 3 times and delete this variant. Let's see if that gives it more data, or if the AI already had the data without me saying it. And we're going to do the same thing for Seedream 5 Pro. And I'm also going to do the same thing for GPT Image 2, but I'm not going to walk through it with you guys on the recording. I'm just going to come back once it's done. Okay, so now everything's complete, including the second run of Nano Banana 2, the first run of Seedream 5 Pro, and the first run of GPT Image 2. Now, this is another scenario where we get a chance to highlight why more competition in this space is always better. Let's start with the second roll of Nano Banana 2. Again, I've already showed you what everything looked like with the first 3 tries of this. Then after adding in the fact that 10 reference images are attached, this is what we got, and I would say it's no better than the other roll. I mean, I would say this is probably the closest to what's going on with all the references, but they just didn't turn out good at all. And again, the purpose of this scene, I didn't come up with anything elaborate. I was just like, come up with a prompt that shows her kind of creeping through these Gothic ruins, and actually use Fable 5 for it. But again, I didn't put a lot of effort into the prompt because I just wanted to show you guys what's possible with it. And I think I showed you that third image. Yeah, I mean, again, honestly, I'm not too certain what more I could have done with this to get a better result with Nano Banana 2. Now we come over to Seedream 5 Pro, and you will notice a stark difference in the image quality and cinematic elements of the scenes themselves. This looks like a closer interpretation of all of those inputs to get this cinematic scene. This was the first image, this was the second image that generated, and this was the third image that generated. Now, although these scenes look a lot better cinematically, aesthetically, with the lighting, everything, we have to point out that there are some inconsistencies slightly. So look at the cloak here. We've got this going on, right? And then this cord, which I believe is how the reference image looks. So you can see it only got it correct once, basically. So even though the scenes look a lot better, I only got one that actually followed the prompt or followed the guidance of all the reference images exactly. Because again, if we go here, you see that there's no cord and there's no kind of wings. I guess that's what we'd call whatever that was. And same thing with the first one. It's just looking completely different. So again, it's not too bad, and this actually looks like a pretty good scene. I would do something different with it in order to be able to use it. I wouldn't have her crouching that low, and I'd have to make sure that height and proportion to the scene itself makes sense. But this is a vast improvement compared to Nano Banana 2. Now, just popping back to Nano Banana 2 just right quick, it does do a better job with the cloak in terms of having those ornaments in that cord. But again, it's not consistent either. You see that that's going on, but there's no cord. And same thing here. It's got those two things, but there's no cord. So it's kind of a consistent issue throughout so far. And then finally, we have GPT Image 2. Let's see how this one turned out. This does have a cinematic look to it as well, but again, we run into that same issue to where we don't have the cord. Also, I can see her leg in this other boot right here, but if you want to generate this, that may or may not be an issue. This thing back here that I've got my mouse hovering over, it could be a stone and then the cloak is just going over that stone, but that could also be interpreted as a small foot, right? I've also noticed that she does not have the black fingernails, and I would say her face sort of drifted a bit, but that was the case with Nano Banana 2 as well. This was the second iteration, again, no cord, and this was the third generation. It's very inconsistent in terms of the black fingernail polish, but again, they're all consistent with not, for the most part, having that cord. And so that's what's going on with this. If I had to make a choice, I would say Seedream 5 Pro would be my choice to make cinematic scenes with, while just making sure to keep an eye on continuity in terms of this cloak and this blade, because this looks like this has got kind of a amber handle, and I would say the blade is more brownish and dark, and I'm not sure that any of them other than maybe Seedream 5 Pro came close to that, but again, it just looks silver more than it does the actual dagger that I added as a reference. So again, just something to keep in mind. I say Seedream 5 Pro wins this round. Let's continue on. Okay, so I'm already getting a sense that this video is running a bit long, and the remaining things that I wanted to show you were the 2 character shot consistency, expression range on locked identity, and cinematic prompting. But since what I just showed you had an element of cinematic prompting in it, where we have this example of this cinematic scene, and it even says it here in the prompt, combine these 10 reference images into one cinematic scene. So we take the references and the actual prompt itself, which happens down here, cinematic, medium, full, tracking shot, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we've already kind of covered this, and this one right here, I don't know that it would be that impactful to show you in this video. Maybe I would show you this when I want to demonstrate a 2-person dialogue scene, because I still want to make that video that a subscriber asked about using ByteDance 2.0 and getting your AI character to have consistent voices, something that I would likely use in conjunction with 11 Labs. So let's go ahead and just do this last test. Expression range on locked identity, same character, 5 emotional beats. Can it act, or does every frame wear the same face? And basically what we're going to do is take my consistent character, give her a range of emotions to go through, something that would be present in any cinematic movie that you would watch. Laughing, smiling, sad, crying, furious, depressed. You get the picture. So let's run through those scenarios, comparing Seedream 5.0 Pro to Nano Banana 2 and GPT Image 2. And here is the test with my AI character that displays the range of emotions across the 3 different image models that we were testing: Nano Banana 2, Seedream 5 Pro, and GPT Image 2. And just from the outset, again, I just think that Seedream 5 Pro nails it. I would say that the facial expression of my AI character looks much more dynamic across all of the ranges. Nano Banana 2 is not bad, but some things just look pretty comical, like this. I don't know where that came from. And again, Nano Banana 2 does some things better. For instance, we can actually see the tears in her face with Nano Banana 2. And again, obviously you guys can get an idea of what the prompts are just by the facial expressions. I don't have to read the prompt. And here we see that her eyes are watery with Seedream 5 Pro, but there are no teardrops. And the same thing happens with GPT Image 2. And in terms of GPT Image 2, again, it's not bad, but some things just kind of look comical, like this image right here. I don't like that at all compared to what we get with Seedream 5 Pro. I mean, I just think aesthetically this one is the winner overall. So again, I like the fact that we're reaching parity pretty much on all of the image models, kind of all performing the same in terms of character consistency. But again, we do have to note that compared to something like this, compared to this, compared to this, they all have their own range. And if I had to choose, I would say my preference out of this batch would be Seedream 5 Pro. And with that, since that was something new that I just tried out, what I've done is I've added to the workflow that I've given you guys. Some of you may recognize this if you got the free workflow using the link in the description below the video. But what I've added is this right here. I had this AI consistent character that served as a reference image, and I wanted to give you guys those same prompts that I used with my character in terms of checking out the range of emotions based on the particular image model. And I even made a note right here that I said I'm favoring Nano Banana 2 over Seedream 5 Pro with this run, because honestly, when I did this, for some reason I just felt that Nano Banana 2 did a better job of locking her identity compared to something like Seedream 5 Pro, where where it kind of drifts a bit. And I even ran that twice with Seedream 5 Pro. So that happened. Same thing here. It's a bit off, but when we bring it back to Nano Banana 2, it all falls back in line. At least that's what it looks like to me. The only thing that's different is I would say that with this particular shot, Seedream 5 Pro does a better job compared to something like Nano Banana 2, to where, you know, her eyes are supposed to be glowing, but that just looks like someone spray painted some yellow paint under her eyes. And even with this initial image, this one came out pretty good. I mean, I guess there is a use case to where you can mix and match if needed, if everything continues to line up in terms of character consistency. And again, all of the prompts are in each box. And another thing I did as well is I went to Midjourney and created this blaster right here. I don't know, this chick in this suit just screamed to me that she wanted to be holding a futuristic blaster, so that's what I did right here. There are some other examples of this, and I think the one that I liked the most was this one right here, and I thought that that's the one that I locked it on because I just want to remember which one I like the best. And again, the prompt for that is in this workflow as well. And again, you can use this completely for free with our partner link for Flora AI in the description below this video. So again, Seedream 5 Pro versus Nano Banana 2 versus GPT Image 2. Which image model are you riding with going forward? Let me know in the comments below this video. And as always, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so that you are notified when we upload the next tutorial to this channel. And if you are interested in more Flora AI tutorials, doing more with AI consistent characters, and just in general being able to plan out your AI cinematic sequences from a bird's eye view, just as I'm doing right here, then be sure to check out this playlist on your screen right now.